Hello everyone, my name's Dean. Let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is February 3rd, 2025. And Bitcoin is currently retesting our 40-day channel's resistance. Okay? After breaking down to the bottom, all the way to the bottom of that 40-day channel. But I will remind everyone, Bitcoin is still, as we say, in prison. Bitcoin is still quite bearish on the higher time frame, given our distributive range that it's been in for the past 70 plus days. Meanwhile, altcoins are showing incredible strengths after retesting support. Okay, so if all that sounds interesting to you, that's what we're gonna get in. Watch until the very end. Hope everyone's having a great day. Let's get started with Bitcoin. As I said, looking at Bitcoin on a higher time frame, you can see that we've been in this larger channel of price action for about 80 days. Okay, so that is what we're calling our channel of distribution. That's our Wyckoff distribution. You can try and make sense of the minutia, the moves up and down, but essentially you're looking at a series of up and down moves and in aggregate a rounded top, which isn't very bullish, right? Because rounded features are typically indicative of extremities, and this one being a top. Okay, so there's that 80 days higher time frame. Let's go on the daily. So you're looking at 80 days worth of this kind of price action, and thus far you're not really getting that much of a confidence inspiring move from Bitcoin. So today's candle is interesting, but a lot of people will mistake this for a bullish breakout. You're only bullish in Bitcoin if you want to really just be honest with what you're seeing on these charts. Bitcoin is only bullish with a convincing break of this 80-day resistance, retest and hold, and then break out. Okay? Up and until that time, Bitcoin is bearish because it's been stuck in prison under this parabolic resistance for 80 days, right? It's pretty straightforward. Nothing about this is too complicated. Obviously, once you get into the details as to what's going on in our purported distribution, how price is moving, trying to break it down, it can get a little complicated. But generally speaking, for the purposes of keeping it simple, the idea is Bitcoin is bearish up and until the point it remains stuck in this area. It's bullish once it breaks this, retests this 80-day resistance as support, then holds the retest for a breakout. Up and until then, our targets for Bitcoin are still all the way down between 65 and 69K, right? Because our larger thesis is that the bull market in earnest starts once this larger distribution breaks down. Now, let's go back to the 4-hourly time frame and look what is happening. Last we spoke, I was talking about this being a rising wedge. We were somewhere here, and I said, well, look, rising wedges tend to break down, and the pattern target for these rising wedges are the base of the rising wedge. So I would not be surprised if Bitcoin did something like this, right? And I was like, that is my target in the immediate short term for Bitcoin, a breakdown to the base of that rising wedge, after which, sure, we could retest the top resistance. But it broke down all the way down to our 40-day channel. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let's zoom out for a second. You can see I drew kind of a megaphone pattern here. And even though it's a megaphone, it's still a channel. And so still acts like any old channel, right? You have a support, you have a resistance, and you have a midline. So that's a regular old channel, and that's how we're treating it. So this is 40 days worth of price action, give or take, okay? And we've tested the tops and the bottoms, the tops and the bottoms. Before this breaks, either down or up, you're going to have to retest the midline. Either if it breaks bullishly, retest the midline to break up, or retest the midline to break down. So right now, in the immediate short term, based off today's price action, the next move, given that we've kind of cleared that midline, the next move is targeting the tops of the channel. That's it. So Bitcoin is right now targeting, 107, 108, 109, thereabouts, right? This 80-day resistance right now. Now, how does it get there? Does it go in a straight line? It could. Does it do something like this? It could. It can take its time. It doesn't really matter. The idea is that with a high degree of probability, we're targeting that top, okay? In the time Bitcoin takes to matriculate up to this 80-day resistance, I'm expecting altcoins to continue to show strength. And that's really the story today. After a large capitulative move yesterday, many altcoins retested support and are now back in play for high time frame bullish targets, right? Altcoins like Ethereum, the king of altcoins, Cardano, Litecoin, right? We're going to look at all of that in a second. But before we go, I'm going to finish this in saying Bitcoin right now, when you're looking at it really carefully, broke structure here, right? And I call this the third break of structure. This could be the third break of structure, or all of this could be a third break of structure. So I just want to point that out because this is tough. Like trying to fine tooth comb, analyze corrective price action is difficult. It's challenging. But I think the best thing to do, or one of the best things to do, is always to keep a broad perspective so you don't lose the forest for the trees. You understand, okay, whether I'm correct or not that this is the third break, on the whole, in the large scheme of things, that's my resistance, that's my support. I'm not bullish up until this breaks, and I'm bearish as far as we're concerned, given that we're still caught under this 80-day resistance. And so more likely than not, this breaks down and, we have our downside targets. But what does it look like if it breaks down? Like I said, Bitcoin finds a way, some way, somehow. I don't know how it's going to find its way to this top resistance, but it's more likely than not that it gets to this top resistance, after which it breaks down all the way back down to this support of the 40-day channel, comes back up to the midline, retests that as resistance, then goes back down for our larger move to the downside. So that's Bitcoin. Again, things have changed, but not really anything's changed, because for the past 80 days, it's been this kind of dance under 80-day resistance. Now, hope that's clear. Again, the most important and interesting thing today is not Bitcoin, but it's the altcoins, right? This is really exciting. So let's look at Bitcoin dominance. And for those of you who don't know, who are new, we look at Bitcoin dominance as an indicator because it really tells us how Bitcoin, the relationship between Bitcoin and altcoins. When Bitcoin dominance is going up, that means Bitcoin is gaining against altcoins in market cap. That typically happens when Bitcoin dumps, altcoins dump even more. When Bitcoin dominance is going down, that's what we call alt season. That's when altcoins are flying, Bitcoin's either moving incrementally up or is kind of stagnant, it's hovering, okay? So really, the heart of the cryptocurrency bull market is when altcoins are flying and Bitcoin dominance is going down. And I talked about this before. The last time this happened was more or less 4 years ago, right? Around here, 4 to 5 years ago. But right now, Bitcoin dominance flew up. So let's go on the daily time frame. Bitcoin dominance flew up past our previous resistance. So we had this as support. We broke down from this support. Then it was resistance. Bitcoin dominance flew up past that. That doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin dominance is bullish. Why? For those of you who don't understand the larger perspective on this chart, you're dealing with 600 days of resistance right here that Bitcoin dominance just hit its head on. And even still, you're dealing with even more resistance here, right? All of this is considered a wick above this almost 3,000 day resistance, this dotted line, okay? So Bitcoin dominance on the high time frame is at resistance. It's just a question of when, not if, it breaks down. So that's basically what we're tracking here. Basically, the idea based off of this analysis of this indicator, this Bitcoin dominance indicator, is that alt season is very close, and it's been very close. But when, oh when, will this indicator finally turn and head down impulsively? Right now, in the immediate short term, after this big doji wick to the upside, I expect a small retest, right, before an actual move to the downside. Okay, so that's Bitcoin dominance. But now what I want to do is I want to look at altcoins specifically. Okay, so let's look at altcoins specifically. Like, why am I saying Ethereum? And I've been saying this for a long time. If you follow the channel, if you follow me on X, you don't have to follow me there because I talk about non-crypto stuff. Sometimes I talk about crypto stuff, but I relegate most of my crypto stuff to this YouTube channel and my Buy Me a Coffee posts, right? I post, sometimes if I'm not posting here, it's because I have a lot of clients that I'm working one-on-one with. And, you know, if it's been a while, like this weekend, I'll post a Buy Me a Coffee post just to update supporters. But what I've been saying for the longest time is Ethereum is not moving past 4,000. All you can expect is a retest of 4,000 until we come back down to this support level of 2,000. People don't understand that. This was quite clear. This was as straightforward a read as I've seen, right? You have this very nice ascending triangle. This is a bullish structure, right? You can also look at it as a cup and handle. That broke up and out, okay? From a high time frame resistance. What then do you expect? You expect a proper retest of previous resistance as support. That happens in 3 phases, right? All corrective patterns happen in 3 phases, but they look a little different, right? So this was very clear to me as a flat correction. So if I have one flat correction, I know that I need 2 more, 2 more components of that to finish the overall correction. I.e., I'm trying to say I need an A, B, C correction. Flat, right? So this is my A wave. This was very clearly my B wave. So I was like, okay, Ethereum's coming back down to this area. Why am I talking about Ethereum? Well, it's the king altcoin. Ethereum basically sets the market. I'm not saying altcoins don't run if Ethereum doesn't run. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you're going to use any indicator in the altcoin space for if altcoins are viable to continue to the upside, Ethereum is it. And I actually thought originally that we wouldn't get this 2000 retest until Bitcoin plummeted and broke our, a distribution channel that we were just talking about. But again, it's hard to time the dance. This is a dance. Bitcoin's doing one thing, altcoins are doing another. What happens when? It's very hard to say. But right now, what happened was Bitcoin made a small move down within the confines of its 80-day distribution, and Ethereum used that to retest its support level, grab liquidity there. And what you can expect is after, so let's zoom in actually. So on the 4-hourly time frame, okay, one of 2 things is going to happen. And I think based off of my experience, I haven't seen too many of these because these don't come too often. Based off my experience, what you're going to see is Ethereum is going to find resistance around So I'm going to take a fib. It's going to find resistance in this region right here. It's going to show strength more likely than not by breaking the 618. This is what I've seen in my experience. Typically, when you have a very bullish recovery, and it's actually a bullish recovery, it's not like a fake bullish recovery, it's actually a bullish recovery, it makes itself known by buying up past the point of resistance. And the natural point of resistance of a previous impulse is the 0618. When you're below it, it's resistance. When you're above it, it's support. So typically what I've seen is these V-shaped recoveries when you fly down in capitulation to grab liquidity from a support level, just like Ethereum did here. And we can look at other examples, and we will in just a second. Then that V-shaped recovery keeps going until you really make it known that the 0618 is not going to hold me. I have liquidity. I am bullish. I am here. In the higher time frames, do expect higher highs. This is how I know the recovery is for real. If the recovery stalls at or below the 0618, I know that there's a high likelihood that we get this kind of consolidative, at best, this kind of consolidative price action. At worst, that we break down further. I don't see that. I feel, based off of what we're seeing and based off of the progression of these 4-hourly candles up until this point, Ethereum will do what I just said, conclusively break the 0618, probably by hitting the 074, and then that marks wave 1. Then you get a wave 2 that comes down, that lasts just about as long as wave 1 took. Then you get the real move up with wave 3. Expect that throughout the altcoin market. Not every altcoin, but most altcoins right now are in this position. They're retesting crucial support levels. For those of you who question, is Ethereum, for so long, for so many months, I've been saying, altcoins are live, altcoins are viable, and yes, some altcoins did pump, but few and far between. But I said, there's only some altcoins that you can realistically expect to pump because they're on support. But, a lot of big name altcoins are not on support. Like Ethereum's not even on support. Ethereum's finally on support. Okay? This 2000 level was the support. The liquidity was grabbed. This daily candle right here really shows the strength of this grab. Really strong hammer candle. I think this continues. Basically, it shows you the strength of the buyers here. They stepped in quite quickly to buy up the supply. This continues, in my estimation, in the way I said, after we hit some resistance here, put in wave 2. Wave 2 proves itself to be supported between the 0382 and the 0618 of this previous move. And then we fly. And altcoins finally start decoupling from Bitcoin. That Bitcoin dominance comes down. I'm using Ethereum because Ethereum is the king altcoin. And if you understand Ethereum, you understand the space. Let's look at another one. Let's look at Cardano. You saw the strength of the buy-up for Ethereum, right? Look at the strength here. You don't get that kind of, what we call it in technical analysis, is a bullish hammer candle, where the wick is very strong. This is exactly what I'm kind of looking ahead, but this is what you can expect when Bitcoin comes down to its support level here. It's going to be quick, so when you're setting your limit orders, understand, even if our targets are between 65 and 69, and hence why I'm setting a range that's quite large, don't expect it to just dilly-dally. Do expect it to come forcefully, and the buyers really showing strength and a strong hammer candle there. This is not that. I know what it looks like, but trust me, it isn't. I know it can be confusing, But what we're seeing in Ethereum and what we're seeing in Bitcoin are not the same. And if you think they're the same, well, you'll figure it out yourself later on. Okay, so for everybody that is part of the crypto portfolio and crypto portfolio consultation and mentorship service that is bought into Cardano, I've been telling you, wait to buy until we get into this green box. Why? Because it was quite clear that the midline of the channel needed to be retested before we left the channel. That's a principle. This is a consistent principle you see throughout. You were in this bullish or bearish consolidation, or it's a bullish consolidation, but it's in the bear market, right? So basically buyers are reaccumulating the supply. You hit your head on the top of the channel, you come back down, you grab liquidity from the fair market value of the asset, which is the midline of the channel, and then you fly back up and out of the channel. So this is what's happening in Cardano. And on the smaller time frames, just like Ethereum, what I'm expecting is for us to pretty much continue until we find some resistance. And the first logical resistance is going to clearly be probably the top of this channel of distribution. So once we hit our head here, we then put in our wave 2. Wave 2 has to hold at the very worst, or at the very least, sorry, how do I phrase this? Wave 2 can't come below the 0.618. Then that proves our initial thesis that this is a bullish reversal, right? Because wave 2 holds the support that we expect in an impulsive move, right? Because pure impulse never retraces below 0.618. That's the idea. So then you continue and you break that resistance, right? So the real careful traders, like if you're in my group, I told you to buy in this green box, which is fine. But if you're really, doing leverage and stuff like that and really careful, you're on the street, you're on a prop firm, they're teaching you, you wait for wave 2 to confirm wave 1. Wave 2 confirms wave 1 by 1 being around the same time as wave 1, 2 being something that holds the 0.618 at the very least, or that holds the 0.618. It can't retrace beyond the 0.618, and then continues the trend. That's when a lot of pros get it, okay? But buying spot, given the higher market analysis, I think it's very great to buy that green box, given what I said about midline retests, right? You can see the same thing throughout the market. Lots of our altcoins did go below levels we thought they would, but still on high time frame are on support. I'm going to give you that example. For instance, if you look at Hooked Protocol, Hooked Protocol, we were, and mind you, altcoins have been down for 2 months straight, right? These are weekly candles. You have 8 of these. 2 months straight. It's been tough, right? So I was buying Protocol here thinking, oh, that's it. That's the base. We come up, we retest the midline, and we're off. But we broke down from there. We came all the way down here. Am I concerned? Not really. Why am I not concerned? Because on the higher time frame, we're holding structure. This is what you should look at when you're investing in these projects. You should look on a high time frame and try and envisage whether or not high structural time frame, the structure on the high time frame is violated or not. If it's still intact, you do or should expect recovery, bullish recovery. If it's completely broken, that's another question. And this is also why it's very dangerous to trade with serious money these these very low liquidity, low price history assets that you can't tell anything from. The only reason we can read Hooked Protocol is because it put in a lot of work in the bear market, consolidating in a falling wedge, which is super bullish because falling wedges typically break to the upside, and the next big target up here, obviously it matriculates in the way we know it to matriculate, right? Top, then midline of the channel, and then also retesting the channel as support, and then it's off to the races. But that's an example. Look at these bullish recoveries in altcoins. It's not just the blue chips of Litecoin, Cardano, Ethereum. It's also these smaller cap altcoins that are showing you a lot of strength. So do expect that to continue, despite Bitcoin being where it's at and doing what I think it's going to do, right? Two things can be true. Bitcoin can be stuck under high time frame resistance and still have yet to retrace between 65 and 69K before blasting up into the millions. And altcoins can be on large support and looking to do serious numbers in the coming days. The last thing I want to show you is this, and then we'll sign off. There are some altcoins that are not on support, that have yet, actually let's look at a more popular example, right? That are not on support and that have yet to complete their corrections. This is a great example, XRP. All right, very, very, very clearly, this red line is support for XRP. Why do we know that? Well, because it was resistance for over 2,000 days. I think it was over 2,000 days. Yeah, 2,500 days. 2,500 days of resistance was beautifully broken by XRP to the upside. That shows proof of strength. That shows proof of continuity rather. Now, the confirmation of a breakout, because we do have what we call swing failure patterns, meaning you break out and then you come back all the way down. That does happen. The confirmation of this breakout is XRP coming right back down to the dollar level, retesting 2,500 days of resistance as support. If you're in XRP or any other altcoin that is still hovering way above its clear support level, you have to wait here. Don't expect any major moves. This is kind of where Bitcoin's at, right? So XRP is kind of dilly-dallying in this distribution range, and yet to show us a support level. So a lot of things going on. It's not everything's at the same phase. I know it's confusing, but use your discernment, look at the charts, and those are the scenarios I'm seeing. Some altcoins have yet to retest support. They're still dilly-dallying in their sort of distribution levels. Bitcoin's still dilly-dallying under its distribution level. But a lot of altcoins are on support and ready to go, and they're going to prove it to you, and the proof is going to be wave 2 retest. Holding on, so let me just reiterate this right here. Let's use Balancer as an example. Okay, this is another one that, despite breaking down below where we thought it was going to launch, it still held support. So don't worry. So what you're seeing on the smaller time frames, a proof positive of a bullish momentum, or proof positive of a pure impulse developing, is this goes up, right, as it is, and once it hits some sort of resistance, it comes back down, and that wave 2, as you pull your fibs, if you can't eyeball it, you can pull your fibs right here. That wave 2 does not come below the 0.618, because one of the definitions of pure impulse, that pure impulse that you see in bull markets that go and does 100, 200, 300x, one of the definitions of pure impulsive price action is that it does not ever retrace below the 0.618 of the previous impulse up. That is something, that's literally how you get 200, 300, 400 X's. That's how bull markets, they matriculate into higher highs and higher lows. They don't do bear market corrective stuff breaking the 0.618. So that's basically it. Guys, I hope this was helpful. I hope this was useful. Like, share, and subscribe. If you got value, consider buying me a coffee, i.e. tipping me by Cash App, Venmo, or sending me Litecoin all at the pinned comment below. And do consider my crypto portfolio consultation and mentorship service, which is still taking signups. I am busy with them, but I still do have some space. I don't know for how much longer. And that can all be checked out at the pinned comment below. One-on-one with me, 1 to 2 hours every month. About $150, I think, is super reasonable given the value you get. Looking at up to 5 different assets, entries and exits, how to trade, how to balance your portfolio, how to minimize risk, mitigate risk, and all that stuff. So yeah, we're going to make life-changing wealth, but you just can't mess it up. And I help you not mess it up. So that's pretty much it, guys. Hope this was helpful. Hope this was useful. Take care.